Hello, good afternoon. It's Joyful Hermit. I'm making an attempt today to be a little more perky and get back on target as far as, I read my morning office of readings and Psalms and read the daily scripture for the Mass. Also put on my face. Sometimes I think maybe my made up face is not as good as the other face, but at least I suppose it covers over some of the dark shadows. And whatever, we're trying. And it's probably more how I would present myself if I were to go out or to go to Mass, to not present myself as ill. One woman who brought me something the other night said that I'm just so fragile. And and I said, well, not really. I said, I've got rods of steel in my back, and I am deconditioned from my shoulder surgery in the fall, and now this neck thing. But, in fact, I do have to get out and have to do everything for myself. But I'm not overweight. I'm not, so maybe in that sense I seemed fragile to her. I'm not sure. Partly, I think she was also making reference to the injury. And however, a lot of people just don't understand that, when your head, I was told by this doctor, weighs 12 pounds. And I didn't have the back of a car thing to hit my head when it went back. My chair was up to about here. My head just fell back, whap. So you don't have something like that without having ramifications. I suppose a man who maybe had a really built-up neck, muscular-wise, might have withstood it better, the force of it better. Anyway, it's just interesting people's perceptions and how we are called upon to always understand where they're coming from. That's taking more the high road. I had a call this morning from someone who's very, very depressed, and I understand what that's like. And yet, when I try to mention anything spiritual or Psalms, it's immediate turnoff. So there's really nothing at all I can do for that person other than to try to be upbeat as best I can. But I shared that I was down on Saturday and Sunday, even today. I have very upset stomach all the time. From the muscles up here are radiating from some nerve that affects my stomach. So just try to encourage, but when I got off the phone, I just said a prayer for the person. It's all I can do is pray for some of these situations. And I sold a book on Amazon today. Some of the books I've read them, I looked at them, and this one was going to a man who's in prison out in California. So I'm praying for this man. This is part of the work we hermits do in the order of the present moment, just whatever presents itself. And sometimes ourselves present ourselves, and all we can do is hang on. I want to make a correction. I referred to the vision in which I saw my former husband and his wife walking as if getting married, walking into heaven, and I was the flower girl in front of them, dropping petals. And that had come after I had done my Ascension Thursday offering. Sort of reminded me of the Old Testament Leviticus reading this morning, or maybe it was Numbers, but anyway, of making the offering to God. And so I had offered prayers and offered up the hate mail I had gotten from them and wanted to forgive and forget. But I'd had that vision. I think I called it an intellectual vision. Instead, it's what is known as an imaginary. That does not mean imagination like it's made up. No, it was an actual vision. but it was made of images, not corporeal, not a bodily presence, but an image that came into my inner sight. Intellectual vision is a vision that comes through an inner understanding, through the intellect, through the mind, and oftentimes then does not have an image with it. So I just wanted to correct that. I'm sure I have made many errors in my videos, just as I do every day, with disorientation or with pain or age or whatever you want to call it. Humanness. I make lots of mistakes. I read this section in Pascal Parente's book on the ascetical life on discernment of spirits. And I wanted to read what these spirits are. These were taken from Scaramelli. And I have his 4 volumes on the spiritual direction of the ascetical life. And I could not find extant a copy of his, or at least an interpreted, translated copy of Scaramelli's Spiritual Direction of the Mystical Life, but I have a compendium copy that's 150 or so years old that someone else did of Scaramelli's works, but I couldn't find these listed out so clearly in the volumes that I have of Scaramelli. So this is very good. And this is how the signs that you will experience if it is a good spirit. The good spirit is true. There will be truth. The good spirit does not prompt useless things. The good spirit illumines the mind, leaves the imagination in the dark sometimes, but illumines the mind. The good spirit has the mind that is amenable, keeps the mind in a amenable state, meaning agreeable to its urgings. The good spirit brings about prudence and discernment and humble thoughts and feelings, whereas the evil spirit will have some kind of lie involved with it, falsehood. It prompts things that are useless and vain. The evil spirit darkens the mind or gives a false light to the imagination. With the evil spirit, the person's judgment is obstinate. There are exaggerations and excesses, and there are proud and vain thoughts with the evil spirit. And of course, sometimes it's hard for us to even recognize these things in myself. Now, Sunday, I recognized that I was in darkness. I emailed a friend and said, bad spirits today. And, I could see, and sometimes, and I realize also with my gardens, I even had a dream one time where my dad said, no, don't put willows in. And he stood over on one edge of the property where I'd been thinking about that, but I did not heed it. And often I would go to this nursery after morning mass or after confession when the rector had been particularly unkind or non-supportive or misunderstanding me. And I would go out to the nursery and look around because it would lift my spirits. And I would end up falling in love with yet more unique plants or something. And this one nurseryman could sense that, and would prey upon my weakness. And I would even say, oh, I'm weak, I should go home. Oh, no, you don't have one of these, this would be wonderful in such and such a place. But it was my fault. I did not discern, at least not in a strong enough way to stop myself, even leaving Mass or the confessional, that I was in a darkness, that the evil spirit was prompting me to excesses or to try to fill in the woundedness. So by the beauty of nature, well, yes, that's fine. But now if I wanted to sell my property, I would either probably have to take a chainsaw to a lot of the trees, or find that unique person who liked to garden daily, or also accept a great loss on it, and etc. So yes, that was successes. The good spirit will bring interior peace, will bring true and practical humility. The good spirit brings confidence in God with diffidence of oneself, a sort of a disregard of oneself, or in not one way or another, but having confidence in God. The good spirit will open the heart and make the heart docile, and the will be flexible. The good spirit brings a sense of right intention, patience in afflictions, the ability for interior self-denial, a simplicity and veracity, truthfulness, and freedom of the spirit. The good spirit exudes or brings about an eagerness in imitating Christ and a meek, benevolent, self-forgetting charity, whereas the evil spirit agitates the mind and brings a sense of perturbation, agitation, or being perturbed. Pride or false humility in words. The evil spirit also breeds presumption or despair, brings about an obstinate will, a closed and obdurate or hardened heart. The evil spirit also gives a sense of perverse intention, impatience, rebellion of the passions, duplicity and simulation. Duplicity meaning two-sided, acting one way, not being that way, or being one way, and just a confusion. And simulation, imitation. And the evil spirit also makes the will a slave of worldly affections, an alienation from Christ, and a false, bitter, Pharisaic zeal. So this is a very good list, and it's referenced here for Scaramelli, from Scaramelli. So I liked that a lot, thought it was great. And the problem is then, so you know these things, and you can, even like I did on Sunday, knew that I was being twisted and being put upon by the evil spirit, the dark spirits, but I really couldn't, with my mind, pull out of it, other than finally to say, okay, this is what's happening. I know what's happening. I couldn't make myself do any creative little projects. I was too physically ill also. And all I could do was write to a couple of friends and say, I'm down, pray for me. And then I got into bed and just waited, pulled the covers up, used my ice pack. One time I should have used it a lot more. Took my pain meds and realized that I would just have to wait it out, even though I recognize. So sometimes that's about all we can do, is identify it and hope, pray, wait it out. Even if we can't pray, Father Vincent called yesterday to see how I was doing. He said sometimes all you can do is be ill, and that becomes your prayer. God bless His real presence in you, and I hope these two lists for discernment of spirits is helpful to you.